If you're active duty military, you're in a tremendous position to really build a rental empire if you so desire. My name is John with Rent My Home Property Management. We are a property management company based here in Clarksville, Tennessee. We manage properties all the way from Clarksville down to Nashville, pretty much an hour's drive anywhere from Clarksville or Nashville. I am an Army veteran and I actually got started with rental property investing myself. This was before I was a property manager. I had the goal of building my own little rental empire, if you will. I was very intrigued by the long-term buy and hold strategy in real estate. I thought, okay, if I could just pick up a handful of rental properties throughout the time of my life, I could pay them off, and eventually that's going to be providing me some good passive income in retirement. It's a strategy that works out well for me, and I think everyone, specifically those folks that are in the Army or in the military, are in a great position to kind of execute on this strategy. Step number one, of course, first is you want to decide, is this something I want to pursue? Take a step back. The first thing you want to ask yourself or be thinking about is your retirement. I don't care how old you are, it's important to think about. One way or another, eventually, you're going to have to retire. You're going to have to stop working. It's only a matter of how early you start to set up yourself for success, or if you set yourself up for success at all. Never too early to start. And I'm a firm believer that wealth building is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Sure, you could win the lottery and get rich overnight, but really the common man is capable of building wealth over the long term, specifically with rental property ownership. Love rental property ownership. I'm definitely not a guru, but I think just common people can use rental property ownership. It's accessible to them and they can use it to build wealth over the long term. As it relates to those active duty military folks, a strategy that I had, and I certainly didn't invent this strategy, but I heard it kind of when I was getting into the military and beginning to PCS. I thought, okay, what a great idea it would be if I could just purchase one or two properties at each duty station I went to. The reason why this is particularly good for active duty soldiers is because they have access to the VA loan. And so if you are in the military, think about this strategy. It may not be right for everyone, but if it's right for you, you could use your VA loan, buy a house for zero down at one duty station, PCS to the next duty station, and buy another house using a VA loan, also zero down. Of course, along the way, you're going to be saving up some funds, and you can, purchase others with a conventional loan, 20% down, whatever. But using this strategy, just having the goal to purchase one property at each duty station, if you PCS 4 or 5 times, you're going to acquire 4 or 5 houses over the course of your career. By the time you retire, you certainly could have those paid off, or if not close to, and have that supplement your retirement. I know that's boring for a lot of people, but you could always pay them off early or sell them down the road and roll that equity you're going to build up into other investments. Now, when I last looked, you could certainly use more than one VA loan. I'm pretty sure that's still true today. I know, well, when I was in, there was a cap, so you had a certain amount of entitlement and you couldn't spend more than that. I forget what the number was, but I could use it. I had, I think, 3 VA loans out at once, and then I was kind of at my cap at that point. But it's a great way to kind of pick up a few. Talk with a specialized VA lender. They'll be able to give you some answers on that. I'm pretty sure that's still true today. But regardless, having the goal of picking up a few rental properties throughout the course of your career as you PCS is a great strategy. Some tips on what to look for. I would just advise that when you PCS, when you get to that duty station and you're thinking about buying a house, don't get caught up in the emotions. Don't get caught up in the attractiveness of a certain house, or I wouldn't even say a specific school zone, or not even necessarily something that you yourself or your family. You just keep in mind that you're not buying it for you and yourself and your family during that time. Of course, you want a great and safe place to live, but you really have to think long term. Think when you PCS again, is that property going to be a good rental property? And so when you go to buy it, the questions you should be asking, at least some of them are, okay, what is my mortgage payment going to be, which is going to be fixed for 30 years, unless I refinance, of course, which is always an option. And what are the rents going to be on that property today? That's a very important question. I think a lot of people that do this strategy may overlook. So what will it rent for today? what is my mortgage payment? Ideally, what it will rent for today is going to be well over your mortgage payment. So if you PCS early, you could cash flow and you could rent it out today. Or maybe it's slightly more than your mortgage payment, but it's on the kind of the path to progress. It's a developing area. You expect rents to increase, and over time, your mortgage payment is going to remain fixed, but the rent that you'll be able to bring in on your property is going to be increasing. And so that over time, that gap widens. And so note, we're not asking, oh, do I like the fixtures? Does it have a fireplace? Is it a nice kitchen where I can cook my meals in? Is it 2 stories? It's great if you want those things for your family and stuff. And if you could have your cake and eat it too, find a good property that has great rents and meets those things, that's great. But sometimes you might have to go with a house that you wouldn't want to live in forever, but it would make a great rental property, so that could be a better decision long term. The reason why I emphasize that dynamic is because, let's say you're looking at a $500,000 house in Clarksville. Well, today your mortgage payment is going to be, I don't even know, $3,000 a month, something ridiculous, something to where it's likely never going to rent even close to that, or at least not for a while. Now, that may be a great house to live in for you and your family, but as a rental, it really probably won't make sense. Now, if you're going to buy and you're looking at a $250,000 house, well, that house likely isn't going to have all the bells and whistles that you want. It may not be as big as you want. Maybe it doesn't have a garage. Maybe it's not renovated. But buying at that price point is going to give you an affordable mortgage payment. So your chances of having a cash flowing rental long term, which if you're executing this strategy, you have to remember is your goal, your chances of that occurring are much higher. And so right off the bat, you probably want to be looking at those properties that are going to have a very attractive rent to price ratio. So it's not a perfect formula, but the lower the price, the more likely it is to cash flow. And you can find some good homes at that price point, but it's kind of thinking, okay, I got to sacrifice in the short term. I'm only going to be at this duty station 1 to 2 years. I'm looking at this property as a piece of my rental property portfolio in the long term. If you do that, and if you could be disciplined to stick to that, do that a handful of times, it's going to be a slow strategy to build wealth, but it's a pretty certain strategy to build wealth if you give it enough time. So that would be my tip to you. If you aren't thinking about retirement, I know it can be boring. It can put a lot of people to sleep. Get started thinking about retirement. If you want to incorporate rental property ownership into that strategy and you're in the military, think about the possibility of picking up a property at every single duty station. And when you do, really think about it through the lens of, okay, is this going to be a good rental property for me down the road? That worked well for me, and so that's why I kind of want to share that with you guys. I hope you find that helpful. If you have any questions about rental property ownership and you're in the Clarksville area, Nashville area, again, my name is John Williams with Rent My Home Property Management. We'd love to help you out. Give me a shout anytime. You can check us out at TennesseeManager.com.